I have reported and asked you before about this, the MOU that was done for the new arrangement, the new monies that MDC had been spending, started in September 2013. And in there was this arrangement whereby DFID had the right to suspend funds, delay funds, etc., etc. Was that what was invoked last October?
Not solely against the MOU or with the MOU in mind. I think the issues that were raised by the concerns that the new government had raised on MDC and then DFID's subsequent internal audit report.
What were those issues?
Well, those are the issues that the task force then looked at within the governance arrangements and policies and procedures within the MDC. So on the basis of that sort of chronology of the order of how events took place with government concerns, DFID's internal audit, then the decision made in December by DFID to suspend funding, that was how it was done. And then we had then formed the task force in order to look at the specific issues. The government asked us to, on the basis of the other two bits of work, to then look at it in more detail, that the recommendation was then made to close.
So it would be correct to say that you were following, DFID was following the arrangements in that, the context of that arrangement, where if they observe certain things, they suspend funding, etc., and eventually the government, in discussion with the government, because it was either the government or DFID who could do this, the government would then have a discussion with DFID, and that basically is what brought the task force into being.
Yes. So it was the government. After we'd done the internal audit process, and the government's obviously raised initial concerns, the government said, we'd like to look at this, can you look at this more closely, and we'll form a task force to do that. And they said, would you like to participate? And I said, yes.
You have not made the DFID audit report, which really catapulted into all of this activity, that audit in October. What about the audit? It's been kept from us, it's not public, whatever. What about it that really we don't know anything about?
Well, it identified the areas I've just been talking around governance and policies and procedures, value for money. That was what was a big factor that the governor also mentioned. Those are the areas highlighted of weaknesses and concerns, and that's ultimately what the task force looked at.
The task force report, was it a report to an end in the that was decided upon? In other words, was it a foregone conclusion that the MDC would have been shut down?
It produced 4 recommendations, one of which was for the MDC to be shut down. That was the preferred recommendation of the task force, but it was up to the government and the cabinet, to decide whether they agreed with the recommendations. They were recommendations.
What is not clear to me is
sorry, those recommendations were set out in the executive summary, which we made available.
Which told the people of Montreat nothing. So, and having gone through the report, I do not know how we could come to that conclusion to shut down the MDC. I just don't have the time to discuss this. So can you tell me really, do you think, Martin, that what you guys reported in here support the actions that you all have taken? The eventual action?
Yes, I do. I think that's why we made the recommendation that we did. I mean, and I've also highlighted in previous press conferences, I think some of the difficulties that the MDC faced were really from the start, from its creation, and many of the other issues and opportunities that were had to address some of the concerns over the last years that hadn't been taken. And I think the recommendation to actually stop it and start again and create something that should be created properly was the right way to do it. I think you can do as much sort of tinkering and probably making improvements as you like, and that wasn't, they tried that in the past and they weren't adopted for whatever reason. So I think it's better to just stop and start again anew.
And believe you me, you just told me exactly what I'm saying. There was not a thing wrong with MDC. Nothing was wrong with MDC. Even in your report speaks to that. Nothing was really wrong with MDC. People were doing things wrong in MDC, which is really what I'm getting at with the governor. people were doing things wrong, not following the rules. That's what your report spoke about. I mean, throughout is what it addressed. And that's why I don't know why it wasn't made public.
I mean, one of the issues which made it seem sensible to close down and restart was this absence of proper legislation, and it wasn't established in a proper way, as it turns out, and that's what we're going to be doing in particular in the next few months, to actually establish it as a statutory body formally, or some other kind of vehicle.
Yes, whatever comes along as an implementing body in the future will be...
Before I pass it on to think, I wish you'd bring some legal person to explain what you're saying there, because what your people are telling us, no proper legislation. The whole Companies Act is legislation, Your Excellency. What are you saying? Your bylaws.
The thing is that the MDC was set up under the Companies Act with bylaws. It should have been set up under the MDC Act of 2008 with its own legislation setting out very clearly what the organisation could and should do, and that wasn't done. And
Martin, if this was my own company, people are going to be taken to court for not carrying out the things that I would have had in my own company. It's the laws of the country. What are you all talking about?